The topic of my speech today is the importance and future of inventing. So, what is inventing? Inventing is creating or designing something that has not existed before. It can also be modifying or altering what already exists so that it serves a new or clearer function. In expanded terms, it is inventors choosing to originate new products and services. Inventions, are they good or bad? There's good and bad in each one of them, without fail. An invention may shorten the life a job takes, but may consume more energy and possibly create additional waste. Recycling programs then may have to be set up in response. COVID-19 masks, for instance, protect people from the virus, but what will we do with the great piles of contaminated medical waste that are now being produced daily? What will be the possibly negative effect on people's health as everybody's breathing becomes slightly more labored? As our world becomes more energy efficient, we spend more resources and energy on creating energy efficient devices. Think of making batteries. What will we do with the inevitable new waste created from all the cars that go electric? I'm counting on inventors around the world noting these problems and working on solutions already. As inventing and innovation accelerates, so does obsolescence. How many of us still have tube TVs? How many of us can recite telephone numbers? Anybody still use a camera with film? What effect does this have on our ability to use our brains to remember and memorize? As new inventions create new areas of expertise, attention to the environment creates new green-collar workers. They join the existing white and blue-collar workers. What do we do with the many people who have lost or are about to lose their jobs because of innovative advancements in almost all areas of life? Creative destruction will ensure new businesses rise from the ashes, but perhaps produce new and different kinds of pollution as well. That will no doubt be dealt with by other inventors who will have to tackle that problem. What are some of the worst and most harmful inventions in history? Looking back over time, it can be debated that the oil industry has been of exceptionally great benefit in our lives, but it's probably the most environmentally harmful in history. What about TNT, freon gas, atomic bombs, pesticides, coal mining? Each has its goods and bads. We just can't avoid that. As you continue to invent and perhaps guide other inventors, remember to think about and work to keep the negative aspects of your products and services at a minimum. Who are inventors and what goes on in their minds? In a wonderful cartoon drawing that clearly depicts how inventors think, a caveman is shown carving out the first stone wheel. Beside him is another caveman inventing the parking meter. Forward thinking and imagination drives inventing. Noticing and observing bring out the areas needing attention. We are all potential inventors. I suggest that an informal survey will clearly show that probably 5 to 7 people out of every 10 have had at least one idea for an invention, or they know somebody that has had one. We invent whether we want to or not. It's almost a physical need, like drinking, eating, and sleeping. Is it in our DNA? I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Young and old invent. I recall meeting Lee Meadows, whose 5-year-old son suggested the brilliant idea of environmentally friendly recycled paper coat hangers. Hyman Schwartz, a member of the Inventors Circle Inventors Group in Toronto, was 94 and still thinking about inventing. The main factor that sets some inventors apart is that they can make things happen. Alan MacLeod, for example, of King's Stream Incorporated, another member of the Inventors Circle, is such an example of a doer, not a talker. He's a prolific inventor, and his most lucrative ones have to do with snowmobiles. It is important to be motivated to take ideas from concept to creation. That's why we are here today. You are expressing our love of what goes on in the minds of all the young and older inventors at this show. Inventing is ingrained in our young and old human systems. We love it. We love the excitement and thrills of creative expression, solving problems, upsetting the status quo, and especially showing it off to the rest of the world. Inventors have fertile minds. They produce serious and not so serious stuff. Besides the practical, the serious tools and machines, creative inventors develop zany, funny, and practical imagination ticklers. Have you heard of pet rocks, the hula hoop, whoopee cushions, Dungeons and Dragons board game, dog hotels? I found these by accident a few days ago. Go on the internet and see the 19 different hug pillows to cuddle instead of a human being. Read the book that tells you 1,000 ways to make $1,000. Humans have a need for lightness in life. Thank creative inventors for all the sane and also wacky inventions and services that have helped us practically, but also lighten our spirits and just plain amuse us. How long has inventing been in existence? The answer is quite simple. It has existed throughout all the time that humans have existed and will continue to be there in the future too. Don't worry, it won't end. We will have an endless number of invention shows coming up. We will meet many times. Nobody is ever going to say we have run out of ideas and the show can't go on anymore. We will never wake up one morning and everything is perfect. That's not going to happen, ever. When the first caveman was annoyed because he or she had to sweep his cave clean with his hands, there was probably a spark of an idea there, or in others watching who thought, I have a better idea, so I don't get my hands dirty. Since then, sweepers, brooms, and dozens of similar simple handheld, practical, and useful products have been invented to solve that simple problem of sweeping. Did we stop there? No. At one point, machines were invented, and the imagination came to replace those hand-activated devices. Instead of sweeping, the emphasis became sucking. Born was the vacuum cleaner, and the thousands of small and big versions that do everything from cleansing blood during operations, clearing blood during operations, to sucking out holes for telephone poles. I wonder what the next sucking device will be. We are never satisfied. Everything can be modified, finished differently, made better and cheaper, or produced in a better time and cost-efficient way. Good, better, best. Stop? No. Let's improve on that. There are countless areas that I would like to present in which I consider inventing has made the most impact on our lives. First one is transportation. It is much faster. We can go farther, higher, cheaper, more comfortably. The reality is now self-driving vehicles, vehicles for outer space tourism, deep space explorers to search for life, and drones that are possibly the base for the fictional flying cars we dreamed about many years ago. Along with all the benefits will come inevitable problems. From past experience, we can, however, no doubt, happily rest assured that creative inventors are already out there or will soon be born to deal with them. Precision has changed dramatically. We have machines that enhance our ability to be precise well beyond what humans are capable of achieving on their own. Everything is made to a higher standard because of our ability to be more precise. When I was a boy, my father bought a new car. It arrived at the dealership and the mechanics had to adjust everything on it before turning it over to their customer. Doors, hood, and trunk were adjusted. The engine, wheels, and brakes were checked. Today, like the car, take it. An oil change is today done every 10,000 kilometers instead of 3,000 kilometers because of increased precision. If you rolled a marble along the groove between the door and the frame, it would run true all the way because of precision. I remember the words of a special gentleman named Steve Carr, you see his picture here, from Welland, Ontario, Canada, who was a prolific author of books about technology, manufacturing, and machining. He pointed out that when he was an industrial arts teacher in the 1950s, measurement tolerance was considered exceptional if it was within 1/100th of a millimeter. It has since improved to where polishing can get that tolerance to within 1/100,000th of a millimeter. Read and watch videos about the now available nanometer precision of the lenses and mirrors in the Hubble Space Telescope. Learn about the most precise atomic clock in the world that can measure almost imperceptible changes in the environment. Precision affects and improves all aspects of our lives, from manufacturing of metal devices to clothing to food processing. Another area is communication. At first, we probably yelled to each other. We then beat tree trunks and drums. We sent smoke signals even greater distances. With electricity, we could send telegraph messages across the country. The telephone connected us more intimately. Computers, cell phones, and the internet now allow us to communicate for almost free, 24 hours a day, with almost all of our global brothers and sisters. Another area where inventing has made huge impacts is helping each other. One of the newest areas in which people have taken great interest and have applied a lot of brain power is apps. They are for all ages and on any conceivable topic. Whether you want to go shopping, check the weather, or play the latest crazy thinking simulator game Brain Test, it's there for you. We can't lose anything anymore. GPS, we can know the location of almost anything in the world. Everything can be tagged, so we know where it is. Presently, locations are within a radius of just under 5 meters. That will no doubt improve within our lifetimes. GPS locates us in our cars, so we don't need paper maps anymore. GPS guides drones to precise bombings. We get photos from outer space and information from anywhere in the world because of GPS and satellites. We can't even get lost in the woods or lose our children in a shopping mall anymore. Thank you, GPS. Inventing has also affected our social lives. We can handle 1,000 friends on Facebook, but we don't meet most of them in the usual face-to-face way. We can do many tasks ourselves with sophisticated software in our computers, example, art and design work. So less and less contact is made with others in the outside world. We order online instead of trying things on in a store and discussing the purchase with a live salesperson. We have several sizes delivered and return what is not wanted. No contact with the company at all. Because social media is so lacking in privacy and our addiction to electronic entertainment is so strong, we tend to talk safely about things more and more instead of engaging in personal or intimate conversations with others. Hopefully, some inventor has recognized that and is doing something about it. Right now, we are having a group conference online. I think most of you probably feel the same as I do. The electronics is not providing what we really need. I don't know about you, but I miss standing beside you, shaking your hand, sharing energy with you, and hanging out with you. Social media and now COVID are producing major paradigm shifts in how we interact and socialize with others. Social media and now COVID are producing major paradigm shifts in how we interact and socialize with others. What I would like to do now is to take you into the future and give you an idea of what we have to look forward to. Our ability to investigate, dissect, and solve almost any small problem or issue that produces distress, danger, discomfort, or annoyance has grown exponentially in all areas of study. We are a very smart species. Sharing of ideas is so much easier now because we have invented electronic devices that allow us to do that. There are exciting, incredible changes that will come about mostly and possibly within our lifetimes. Here are a few important areas of inventing to watch. Be amazed at what we will do in them. Look ahead and see human implants that will be almost imperceptible, but do all the things that our phones do today. Early science fiction writing was the source of many ideas for inventing gadgets and devices that have revolutionized the way we communicate. Those writers inspired future real-time inventors to create those products and services. We already have gone past just auditory communication to audio and video. What's next? Possibly 3D virtual interaction. What about showing or transmitting emotions in what we write instead of through emojis? What about some kind of sensor or probe that can improve long-distance diagnosing? In the Star Trek television series, Dr. McCoy used a handheld diagnostic device that, when hovered over the body, did a complete scan for problems and issues that needed addressing. You can presently order a similar plug-in device for your car. Why not for your body? Come on, inventors. We believe in you. Make it happen. Another area to look at in the future is a more powerful internet. The internet we have today is so much different from what we had 20 years ago. In the mid-1980s, the speed was approximately 10 kbps. In 2020, Taiwan has the fastest average speed at 85 mbps. We are presently switching to 5G transmission. There's action already in developing 10G transmission. The industry is also looking at 40G and 100G transmission for different purposes. Besides people being connected on the internet, we will be sharing it with the Internet of Things. Most machines and things will be made smart so that they can talk to each other. Your fridge will order replacement food from suppliers as it senses the milk in the carton is low. A tree in Sweden is wired to tweet its mood and thoughts to the world. Most of the future internet will be changing to video form. Within many of our lifetimes, we can expect the speed of the internet to our homes to increase by about 3 million times. Looking much further into the future, an interplanetary network is already being discussed that can send transmissions great distances more quickly between planets, moons, comets, etc., as we visit or perhaps populate them. Within the internet, Google has, as one of its objectives, the recording and storing of every written word in history. Data collection is an incredibly huge and important activity in our lives today. Ultimately, everything humans have ever done or thought may be available to all of us, or perhaps just to the highest bidder. The gathering of data is in the zettabyte range already. That is 1 billion terabytes, or 1 trillion gigabytes. In 2008, about 5 exabytes of information was created. That's about 1 billion DVDs. By 2011, we created 1.2 zettabytes. That is the same as everybody on Earth tweeting for 100 years, or watching a 1-hour TV show for about 125 years. Forecasts for 2010 to 2024 suggest 59 zettabytes of information will be created globally. Not only are inventors creating the products and services to produce and handle that much information, there are also those who are working on ways to abuse and prevent abuse. At what cost will all of this be done? Financially, relationship-wise, personally, and emotionally. We shall see if we can maintain the balance. Remember, good and bad is in all inventions. Climate change is already affecting us in new and different ways. Stronger storms, higher temperatures where there were traditionally low ones, changing weather patterns that increase flooding and more. We can no longer just talk about it and ignore it. Animals are already migrating to warmer or cooler climates. There is a growing outbreak of diseases. There's a growing increase and shift in the number of caregivers being recruited from specific countries like the Philippines to go to needy and often wealthy countries to tend to those with COVID. The competition for water and food and other resources is increasing. Borders and countries are stressed by migrating people. Class, status, and wealth will be meaningless as traditional barriers and civil order will inevitably break down. What can be done to mitigate damage and destruction when we have to almost certainly move, possibly within our lifetimes? What will we invent to provide a relatively tolerable transition? Let's pray and have hope and confidence that there are inventors involved in dissecting these enormous life-changing problems and finding solutions. Aging population and lowered birth rates. Japan, by age, is the oldest world country and is shrinking its approximately 126 million population by about 400,000 people a year. More than half of those people are over age 46. By comparison, Nigeria has only 1/10 of its population over that age. Italy and Germany are very close to Japan's numbers. Robotic caregivers, online monitoring of the aged, synthetic dolls for companionship, hug pillows are a fact. How will governments keep up their revenues to provide services to the rest of their diminished populations? How will companies and industries continue to exist if the demand for their products or services shrink nationally? Sustainability is becoming a hot topic. How quickly can we move away from dependence on oil to cleaner forms of energy? In Canada, for instance, the province of Alberta is heavily dependent on the oil industry. There's going to have to be a painful transition away from oil. This will be happening in many countries. How do we help third world and emerging countries avoid the pollution stage of their development? The demand for new clean sources of energy is and will be very heavy as countries must confront head-on their climate and environmental problems that have been ignored for too long. Thank you, inventors, for the technological choices that you have provided on which to act. Looking ahead into the future, we must also take this topic into consideration. The rich are getting richer. The middle class is disappearing in many countries. The poor are increasing in number. The richest 1% of the world's population control most of the wealth. Inequality within most societies is often related to the many social problems in each country. Inequality is affected by mental illness, life expectancy, infant mortality, education of the population, obesity, teenage births, crime and imprisonment rates, and degrees of social mobility. Some of these have been mentioned before, but these are considered to be the most powerful global forces or megatrends that cause inequality. Technological innovation, climate change, urbanization, and international migration. Focusing in on how severe a problem can potentially grow to be, an example comes to mind. Just watch the growing race-based social unrest in the United States. Statistically, most rich people there are white. For example, in June 2020, a study showed that of 615 billionaires in the USA, only 6 are Black. It's hard to believe that in 2020, that globally we are still fighting for basic human rights and respect for each person. Inventors of new economic and socially more powerful systems, you are greatly needed to solve the inequalities and issues. We have a responsibility to look after all our global brothers and sisters. The disabled want to move around freely like the rest of us. For them, inventors have created exoskeletons, implanted electrical stimulators moved previously immobile appendages. Specialized speech synthesizers give people like Stephen Hawking a voice. Versatile new transporters can deal with problems that regular wheelchairs couldn't. Inventors make the lives of the disabled easier and more normal. A variety of new and improved social services help many poor and marginalized brothers and sisters. Are police the best responders to handle many situations, or should other specialists be called in? Can food be shared more evenly and equitably so no one goes hungry? I'm trusting there are many inventors out there who will address those needs. I challenge some of the children listening to this to be those inventors. Cybersecurity and crime are bigger and growing problems. Is anything electronic safe anymore? Can we realistically protect ourselves at home or online? A great success story, but not very well known, is Voltex, created by one of our Toronto inventors, Dennis Maharchand. He has been putting out 100% energy to get his invention into the world since about 2005. Personally, I've had Voltex installed in both my computers for over 3 years. Zero problems and worries about hackers, viruses, malware, attacks, and infections. I don't even think about security. I'm shocked that Voltex is not out there in every computer. Why isn't it? As mentioned earlier, with every good comes something bad, or in this case, perceived bad. Voltex offers everybody their privacy back. Nobody can enter your computer and mess with it, seize it, or hold it for ransom. But how will the governments and law enforcement organizations monitor people? Criminals would be able to hide and become virtually invisible. Take a look at Voltex.com. Get it for your computers and your companies. Get it out into the world. It is truly a remarkable, unrewarded game changer. Thank you, Dennis. You are greatly appreciated. I'm very happy to advertise your product during this speech. I hope my words and endorsement help you sell millions of copies. Yes, I own some stocks in the company. Ha ha. There is a growing blurring of the lines between what is real and fake. Into the real and fake news dilemma comes an additional player to the game. It's called deep fakes. People are being faked. Generative adversarial networks, introduced in 2014, are part of machine learning. They synthesize artificial images that are presently almost identical to authentic images. Who will be real and fake on TV or in a political ad? A deep fake politician can be made up of their parts from photos and videos to look exactly like an existing real politician. And then he or she can be programmed to say any words. The software is becoming so sophisticated in most cases, it is barely possible to determine that it is a real person or a fake person. At the same time that inventors come up with solutions to this problem, Other inventors are working on developing deep fake to an even more sophisticated level. Who is real and who is not? What and who do we believe? That is the question. Climate change is forcing the inventing of new foods, hardier and stronger strains, and new ways to grow food quickly and transport it where needed. Climates, soils, growing conditions are changing, and so must food. We are already looking at plant-based products that look and taste like meat. Genetically modified fruits and vegetables can have new tastes and flavors. Candy-flavored grapes, for example. Edible water bottles are being prepared to enter the marketplace. Insects will become a greater source of human food. Novelty items such as black ice cream, pizza bones are being added to the humorous foods in our lives. Thank you, inventors, for providing comic relief in the middle of the serious stuff, saving our planet from more waste, and making our lives more comfortable. Government instability is growing around the world. New approaches are already being investigated. For example, modern monetary theory argues that governments can spend as necessary on desired causes to reducing unemployment, green energy, better healthcare and education, without worrying about paying for it with higher taxes or increased borrowing. Perhaps a universal basic income for all citizens would stabilize countries. COVID is putting this idea back into the realm of serious consideration. Could we do something like that on a global scale? Hey, inventors, get on it. Let's make things happen, as usual. From small objects to human organs and tissues, to houses, things will be made more quickly and more efficiently, but differently, as needed only. No more large warehouses, storage rooms full of products that may or may not sell. Gone will be the souvenir shops full of cheap trinkets and keepsakes. Perhaps they will transition into producing any souvenir you want as you watch it being made. As everybody will have access to 3D printing, there will be growing problems around patents, copyrights, and trademarks. On a grander scale, 3D printing will grow in importance in house building. It may be possible to house almost everybody if the effort were made to mass produce cheap 3D printed houses. We are only at the caveman stage at this time, but industrious inventors are working on 3D nanotechnology factories that will eventually build anything you want with atoms. Imagine malware getting into a protected computer built in a nanotechnology factory. Both operate at the speed of light. That's a possible real situation. The biggest attention getter and future game changer all around the world at this time is artificial intelligence. If machines are to be and act like human beings, the challenge is to program them to be as human as possible. What is humanness? What degree of logic, empathy, honesty, caring, and more can be implanted in a machine? We're going to find out, probably within our lifetime. How can robots be programmed to make them more likable and accepted by humans? At this time, we already have socially assistive robots that assist through social interaction, not physical interaction. They help with the caregiving concerns of an aging population. On a small scale, we already have AI robotic caregivers in hospitals. You visit grandma, and she tells you how happy she is to have a friend like her robot that keeps her company while the family is away. Imagine creating robotic judges, robotic police, robotic doctors, or AI players in the stock markets. How do the programmers in charge decide on the kinds of emotions, morals, ethics, principles to be used in decision-making situations? Some of you may have heard of this. In 2017, a social robot, Sophia, was given citizenship status in Saudi Arabia, the first robot to be given legal personhood anywhere in the world. This is a glimpse of what we can expect to develop even further within our future because of AI. In conclusion, inventing is the heart that has pumped the blood of creativity throughout the body of our world, throughout our human history. It affects all aspects of our lives, every day of our lives. Inventing has allowed us to create new and improved ways of participating, interacting, moving, and enjoying our lives as global citizens and also as brothers and sisters on this earth. All people, young and old, can and do invent. Inventing has created great wealth and prosperity. It has created incredibly huge successes and benefits. It has also created huge problems that require us to invent something to fix them. And so on it goes. The future is in the care of your creative minds and hands. Thank you, inventors, past, present, and future. We love you. We need you. Don't stop inventing. See you at the next iCAN show.